How many of you learned the song about Zacchaeus in Sunday school? Oh, okay, let's sing it. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in the sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see. And as the Lord came walking by, he looked up in that tree, and he said, Zacchaeus, you come down, for I'm coming to your house today. I'm coming to your house today. You just gotta love Zacchaeus, right? Okay. Vertically challenged. He wanted to see Jesus. He wanted to see Jesus so badly that he was willing to risk being ridiculed and his dignity to scramble up that tree. My, oh my, a grown-up climbing a tree. Yet this little story is more than just the story of a short guy climbing up the tree. As many times as I've read this story and preached this story, you always come up with something new. And this year, I saw that what Luke has done in recording this story of Zacchaeus with the details is that he has wrapped up 19 chapters of Jesus' ministry into this one story. So I want us to pay attention to these details so that we see that Luke is emphasizing everything we've learned about Jesus, about healing, lost and found, how people are left out. It's all here in this story of Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was rich. Remember that Luke's story of the rich ruler who asked Jesus what he had to do to find life? And Jesus told him he had to sell what he had and give to the poor. Do you remember that story? The rich ruler went away sad because he had a lot and he couldn't part with it. Zacchaeus is short in stature. And like those of us who are small, when we get into a crowd, all we see are the backs of people. The crowd blocks him from seeing Jesus. Earlier, Luke records a time when the disciples and others blocked the children, the little ones, from seeing Jesus. Zacchaeus is a tax collector. A few chapters back, we had a story where Jesus praises a tax collector who is humble and praying in the synagogue. Zacchaeus is persistent in his efforts to see Jesus, much like the persistent widow we heard about 2 weeks ago, who would not give up pleading her case before the judge. And there's something else here. Zacchaeus, the name Zacchaeus means clean or innocent. And yet Zacchaeus is shunned by the crowd. He's hated by the crowd because he was colluding with the Roman emperors and taking advantage of others. And yet, everyone probably assumes that Zacchaeus will always be this way, that Zacchaeus is Zacchaeus, he's evil, he's awful, and we should not talk to him. And yet we know from Jesus' stories of the lost that that's who Jesus has come to find. Those who are lost, those who are seeking new life, those who are open to being found and welcomed into the love and grace of God. Jesus comes and he doesn't see a short guy. He doesn't see a tax collector. He doesn't see a crazy adult who has climbed up a tree. Jesus sees Zacchaeus, a human being, someone who is searching, someone who wants to see life differently, someone who is blind to possibility, maybe at first, but now open to where God may be leading him. There are stories about that in Luke too, about how people who think they can see really don't see. And here's Zacchaeus, who sees and wants to see and is willing to change his life to see. Just as Jesus describes joy when the lost coin is found by the woman who has searched high and low for it, just as there is joy when the shepherd finds the lost sheep, just as the Father is filled with joy when his lost son comes home and is welcomed, there is joy in Zacchaeus as he feels this love and being valued and welcomed by Jesus. And because he feels valued and loved and welcomed by Jesus, he changes his life. He hurries down that tree and he promises to make amends to anyone he has cheated. And he's going to give away half of his possessions to the poor. He is on fire. He sees life in a new way. He sees a future. He experiences hope and possibility. He is willing to give. He is filled with gratitude. And we heard that story too a few weeks ago. Do you remember? 10 lepers were healed, but only one came back to give thanks. Zacchaeus, shunned by the crowd, an outsider, like that Samaritan who came back and gave thanks for being healed of his leprosy. Here we have Zacchaeus as the hero in this story. He was lost and was found. In joy and in gratitude for this new possibility for life, he's going to give his life. He's going to experience gratitude. He's going to welcome Jesus into his home. And what about us? Do we really want to see Jesus? Do we want Jesus to see us? Because that may mean making some changes. Are we willing to hurry from whatever we're doing that we think is so important to embrace this new life that Christ offers us? Are we willing to make changes in our lives to get rid of whatever's holding us back from experiencing that new and transformative love that comes through Christ? Are we willing to share what we have so that others can experience life and hope? Are we willing, like Zacchaeus, to welcome others to a table of friendship and love? Zacchaeus responded wholeheartedly to this gift of Jesus. Do we? Are we filled with joy and gratitude, or do we forget to give thanks? You know, it's comforting to know that Jesus is looking for each one of us. It's also comforting to know that we can make changes in our lives that will bring us joy, that will bring us hope, that will connect us with community in new ways. At the same time, this story reminds us that so often we're part of the crowd that shuns people and believes that people can't change, that we exclude them from our homes and from our tables. Are we willing, as the followers of Christ, to be those people who, like Christ, look around, look up in the trees, look around the community to see who is lost and alone, to look in those places where no one else is looking, to see a Zacchaeus and offer them hope, to be unafraid in the name of our God, to claim and say that all people are valued, all people? This story has a wallop of a message if we take the time to think about all the details of who we let in and who we let out, of our own willingness to allow Jesus to see us and to come into our lives, to be willing to take the risk of saying to the crowd, that person is also a valued and beloved child of God. We are called to allow Jesus to come into our lives. We are called to see Jesus in the crowd, at school, at work, and on the street, and to remind everyone that every person is a beloved child of God. Do not let anyone ever tell you that you are anything but a precious child of God. That message for us, that message is for all the Zacchaeuses of the world. This is the good news of Christ. Thanks be to God. Amen.